Bondan Free by Robert Frost.
Love has earth to which he clings, with hills encircling arms about, wall within, wall to shut fear out. But thought has need of no such things, for thought has a pair of dauntless wings. On snow and sand and turf I see, where love has left a printed trace, with straining in the world's embrace. And such is love and glad to be, but thought has shaken his ankles free. Thought cleaves the interstellar gloom, and sits in Sirius's disk all night, till day makes him retrace his flight. With smell of burning on every plume, back past the sun to an earthly room. His gains in heaven are what they are, yet some say love by being thrall, and simply staying possesses all, and several beauty that thought fares far, to find fused in another star. Interpretations of Bondan Free. Our group thought that this poem was comparing love to thought. Love seems to be something you cannot get away from, and it holds you back, while thought is the path to brightness. The first stanza of the poem said, "Love has earth to which she clings, with hills encircling arms about, wall within, wall to shut fear out. But thought has no need of such things, for thought has a pair of dauntless wings." We thought this stanza said that love is on earth and it overcomes fear. On the other hand, thought doesn't need love nor have fear. Thought is free. The second stanza said, "On snow and sand and turf I see, where love has left a printed trace, with straining in the world's embrace. And such is love and glad to be, but thought has shaken his ankles free." We thought this stanza was saying that love is everywhere, and it has left a path on earth, but sometimes love can be difficult. Love is glad to be difficult, but thought has escaped love. The third stanza said, "Thought cleaves the interstellar glooms, and sits in Sirius's disk all night, till day makes him retrace his flight, with the smell of burning on every plume, back past the sun to an earthly room." We thought this stanza said that thought breaks through the darkness and gloominess and sits in the brightness of a star called Sirius. This is saying that thought lights the way, or is a path. Then daytime comes, and thought has to go back to reality. The fourth stanza said, "His gains in heavens are what they are, yet some say love by being thrall, and simply possesses in all several beauty that thought fares far, and finds fused in another star." We thought this stanza said, "What you think is what you think." We also thought that this poem said that, being in love, you are enslaved by it and part of it, but thoughts or dreams light the way out. Some people have interpreted this poem similarly and different than we have. One person thought this poem said love is tied to earth, while thought is tied to heaven. Thought isn't bound to earth in any way and can travel from star to star, while love chooses to stay on earth. This person believed that the speaker of the poem was in favor of thought at first, but as the poem went on, the speaker changes his mind. Thought has to travel across the universe and find beauty and freedom, but love is able to find these things on earth simply by staying. Thought's constant need to travel in search of freedom becomes its own type of shackle. Love is able to achieve more lasting liberation through its safety and comfort on earth. This interpretation is a little different than our group's, but everyone has a different interpretation.
Robert Frost was born in 1874 in San Francisco, California. Robert's father was a hard drinker and a gambler. Robert's father died of tuberculosis when he was 11 years old. In order to support his family, Robert's mother had to go back to teaching. He dropped out of kindergarten on the first day of school. Robert continued to do this until he turned 11. After high school, Robert attended Dartmouth College. After a few months, Frost was most likely expelled for a prank. Over the next 10 years, Frost had various jobs. He worked at a textile mill, worked on a farm, and taught Latin at a school in Massachusetts. Robert also attended Harvard for a couple of years, but left without receiving a degree. My Butterfly was Robert's first poem that was published. Eleanor agreed to marry Robert. They had 6 children together. His son, Carl, committed suicide, and 2 of his daughters suffered from mental breakdowns. 4 of Robert's children died. The Frost family moved to England in 1912 when their farm failed. It was there that Robert met and was influenced by the British poets such as Edward Thomas, Rupert Brooke, and Robert Graves. He also became friends with Ezra Pound, who helped Frost promote and publish his work. Throughout his life, Robert suffered from depression and had little confidence in himself. By the 1920s, Robert Frost was one of the most celebrated poets in the United States, and had been given 4 Pulitzer Prizes. On January 29, 1963, Frost died and was considered an unofficial poet laureate of the United States. The sources for insights of Robert's poems were nature and his surroundings. Robert Frost once said, "Literature begins with geography." A Boy's Will was Robert's first published collection of poems. It was followed by North of Boston. This collection of poems is considered Robert's best work of poems. It contains some of Robert's best-known poems such as Mending Wall, The Death of the Hired Man, Home Burial, and A Servant to Servants. These poems were drawn from Robert's own life and everyday tasks. Both Robert's suffering from recurrent losses and his loneliness were reflected in this collection of poems. Robert's third collection of poems was called Mountain Interval. This collection showed his appreciation of the natural world and his sensibility about the human aspirations. Readers found these poems easy to understand with his down-to-earth approach to his subjects. Bond and Free was in this collection. The observations and homely details of his poems often have a great symbolic significance, but many people have noticed a tension on the surface of Robert's poems. Many of his poems deal with human tragedies and fears, his reaction to the complexities of life, and his ultimate acceptance of his burdens. People with mental illness constantly surrounded Frost. He had to commit his sister, Jeannie, to a mental hospital. His daughter, Irma, was committed to a mental hospital also, and Frost himself suffered from mental illness. He had very intense fears, anger, and jealousy. Poetry was the one thing that seemed to hold Frost together. Although Frost suffered from depression and had many difficulties in his life, he was one of the most celebrated poets of the United States.
Poetic Devices. This poem uses stanzaic form since it has a rhyme scheme of A-B-B-A-A. It is written as a narrative piece. It uses an extended metaphor comparing thought to love. The symbol in this poem is thought representing what is free and beautiful. Personification is seen in this poem in the second stanza when it says, "Love has left a printed trace." This poem uses imagery as seen by smell of burning on every plume. It also has repetition when it repeats the words thought and love. This poem has end rhyme and also has a rhyme scheme of A-B-B-A-A. This poem can be read smoothly since it has a good rhythm with stressed and unstressed syllables. The author's tone is serious, yet happy. The reader's mood is thoughtful and happy. This poem has several examples of alliteration as seen in Simply Staying, Wall Within Wall, and Sits and Serious.
Personal reflections. Jason thought it was okay. Kind of first, then it got more interesting. Nolan's reflection, he liked it, thought it was a thoughtful love story. Hanna thought it was good and liked the meaning. It also made her think. Abby thought it was well written and a good poem to read. She thought it was deep. My reflection thought it was deep and well thought out.